domestic violence and the workplace. It affects everyone. If you are being beaten at home, and Jason and I strongly suspect that you are, there's a lot of side problems that go along with this. You know, a lot of late calls, not able to concentrate on work. Well, George and I, you've heard about our dating relationship, right? And I'm controlling domestic abuser. And everybody here knows that domestic abuse is about control, right? Okay. So since George is at work, I want to know what George is doing every moment of the day. So I'm texting her 16, 18, 44, 144 times a day. How productive can George be with that going on? From the Maine Department of Labor, 80% said their abuser came to their work, 13% said they were assaulted while at work, 60% of the women surveyed said they lost their job because of domestic violence, and 74% said they were harassed at work. Just the texting, the phone calls, the emails. Now, I'm hoping that none of you guys are in a domestic abuse situation. Even if you're not, if one of your colleagues is, that can be a threat to you, because I get mad at George, George is going to leave me. I come here with my gun. I don't care what's going to get between me and George, okay? I'm going to take George out. If you get in my way, sorry. 75% of women murdered at work are by their ex-partners. So how do we address it? First off, you have to recognize it. And as supervisors out here, you know, if you have people that are anxious about getting home late, shows up with bruises and said, yeah, the dog, you know, the dog did it, or I tripped, or the stairs, talks to you about a friend being abused, is depressed, a partner appears extremely controlling, excessively tardy or absent, continually on the cell phone or checking it. That's the thing where I'm trying to make sure I know where George is and what she's doing. So I'm calling her and texting her every little bit. Very distracted. As supervisors especially, but as co-workers, recognizing this is a problem and it might put you at risk. How do we address it? You need to communicate. Talk to the employee, indicate your observations, show support and concern, and leave the door open if there's a denial. You know, if I'm talking to George about domestic abuse and she denies it, say, okay, well, that's fine. Maybe I was wrong, but leave that door open. And don't judge them or push them to leave their abuser, okay? George comes home and at least once a week, I beat her. Do you think she doesn't know that maybe getting out of there is a good thing to do? She doesn't need to hear that from you. They know that getting out of there is a good thing to do, but there's other things that are tying them to that. You know, whether it's because it's my paycheck, whether we have kids together, you know, she wants to provide for that. There's other things tying there. So don't judge them and don't push them to leave, even though most of us sitting here are going, will you please get out of that relationship? Because that's the way we feel. Other ways that we can address it: refer to services. You guys have an employee assistance program, safe houses out there, legal aid, health service, social service, domestic violence crisis line. And you notice I didn't even mention police, but we're there too. Provide administrative support, time off, flexible schedules. And that's going to be important, because one of the things as an abuser, I know what hours George works. I know which room she's in. If you guys have the ability to flex her schedule so I don't have a clue of when she's going to be walking in from the parking lot, that's a real good thing, because that's where I'm most likely going to try to hurt George. So if you can flex that out a little bit, it's not a bad thing at all. As colleagues, you need to let your supervisors know. If you're getting a protection order against an abuser, stalking order, or a restraining order, let them know, because this is going to be a triggering event in my life, and I could go nuts, and I could come here. The other thing, if that's going on and we know that this is a situation, I as a supervisor would go to George and say, can I post a photo up by the front desk? You know, you've got a protection order against your abuser, just so people, the other employees here, know that if they see him in the parking lot, that this could be a bad day, because you've got a protection order against your abuser anyway. So I would like to post a photo, but you would need to do that with the person's permission. As an organization, you can develop policies to support the victim, protections for the victim, identifying the abuser, train the staff, train the victim, zero tolerance for the attacker at work. And that's one of the main things I would go, George and I might get back together. George might be weak, but if this type of situation goes on, I should never be allowed at George's work. Okay, even if we get back together, I should never be allowed at George's work. Okay, and that's what you can do as an administration, because that's keeping everybody else safe. A victim leaving your abuser is like terminating an employee. Both are emotionally invested. protect their dignity, make the separation complete. And this is, I'm talking to the victim here, make the separation complete, don't negotiate. You know, it would be, okay, I'm going to change roles again. Now George is the abuser. So, George, it's not you, okay? It's not you, but we can't be together anymore, and we're not going to be together anymore, all right? But it's not you. I'm sure that you will find someone out there wonderful like Jason that you guys you can be with. You know, and if George tries to negotiate and say, well, maybe I'll just come over for a little while or something like that, no, the decision is final. I'm going to keep the conversation future-based, you know, because you and Jason would have lovely children together. You know, that's just so. That's how, if a victim is separating from her abuser, is a good way to do it. Now, I as the abuser, why would I attack George at work? George gets a lot of power and control from her job here. You know, it is her identity. It gives her money, it gives her freedom. She has all you people in here that are friends, which I'm jealous about because I don't like her having friends. So, you know, I'm already mad at you guys, and that's one of the reasons I might attack her at work. I might want to make her afraid to go to work. You know, if she comes out and her tires are slashed on her car and she knows I've been there, you know, I've made her afraid even at work. I may blame you guys for giving her the care, support that she needs to leave me. So I may be mad at you anyway. And a lot of times, if George and I have been together for a while, I've been whittling away at her support systems. You know, her best friends from college, she doesn't hang out with anymore. She only calls her mother once every, you know, on the holidays. You know, I've whittled away at all the other support systems that I can. So I'm probably attacking her strongest support system. Like I said, parking lot is the most common place for attack. So as staff, you can change the parking area. You know, have you could actually get a different car so that I don't know where your car is going to be at, so I don't know which door you're going to come out of, so I can't lay in wait and attack you. And we can also, as colleagues and coworkers, you can offer support by walking her to her car, since we know the parking lot is the most dangerous place for her. I don't know if you guys get offended by the terminology, but at this point, George is a target because she's made the decision to leave me. She is now a target. She's not a victim. Providing a new phone number at work, the email address I mentioned, provide a code word for help. So if George is sitting in the cubicle or in the office and she realizes something is going on and her office mates know that there's some sort of code word, this also works well with clients. You know, if you're sitting out in front in there and you go, George, last time I was in Cincinnati, that might be a good tool for you guys to have as well. Just some sort of code word that doesn't mean immediately, oh my gosh, I'm going to run out of here with my hair on fire, but things are getting tenser than I like right now. You know, and it could be something as simple as seeing me sit down and seeing my gun exposed. Assuming if a client brings a gun to a meeting, that's a bad thing. Okay. So a code word in both the domestic violence and with the clients. Have a response plan if something like this happens. You know, will the perpetrator be recognized? Who's going to be called? Who can lock down the workplace? Who warns the target? Sue, if you saw me coming in and you know what's going on between George and I, you know, are you going to go to George and say, George, get the heck out of here? You know, he's walking in and he's carrying an AK-47. Just having some sort of plans there. Is there an exit strategy, or are you guys just going to lock down and shelter in place? Just having those thoughts in mind. What is the plan? Where could I go to get shelter? You know, and the supporting of the victim, especially of domestic violence.